What's up, guys? I didn't see a whole lot of videos on this for trucks, more specifically Powerstrokes, the 99 to 16. But today, as you can see here in the background, I'm going to be putting on Lambo doors, so also known as butterfly doors, whatnot. But as you can see here, I've got my truck. I did the passenger side already. I kind of worked out the kinks, if that makes sense. So I love it. A lot of people hate it, but it is what it is. So I've done the passenger side already and kind of, like I said, worked out the kinks. But now I'm going to show you all how to do the driver side. And it's the same process. Like I said, there were a couple things that I wasn't 100% sure on how to do, that kind of stuff that I figured out doing it. So I'm here to walk you guys through today how to do that. First thing, this is what the hinge looks like. These are from Vertical Doors. You see them here? They're a company based out of California. I actually bought them off of a guy. So that's how I got them. I think they're like $1,000 new. I didn't quite pay that. But yeah, so we're gonna get these. I've got some of my tools laid out. Grinder, I've got the towel for when I take my fender off. I set it on it. Some of the wiring stuff, but yeah, let's get into this and I can show you guys how we got that right there. So first thing, forgot to mention this, some of the tools I've got. This is just a little hex impact. It's not super powerful. I've got a little 3/8 impact too. That one's a lot stronger. And then just a little side ratchet. You can do all of this with hand ratchets, which some of it you do have to do with hand ratchets, but these make it a lot easier. So I've also got some painter's tape here, and a blade, razor blade, flathead screwdriver, pry bar, just, you know, basic kind of stuff that I keep around my shop, and then obviously all my sockets and wrenches and that kind of stuff. So now the first thing I'm gonna do here is take my grill off and then my headlight. So on the grill, there's gonna be 4 bolts or 4 10mm across the top. And there's like little, what do you want to call those? They're almost like a snap-in kind of thing. So you just poke them with a screwdriver, your grill pops off. For the headlight, you got a 10mm here. There'll be 2 10mm right here, and 1 10mm. You may be able to see it. Yeah, I can't quite focus, but then there's another 10mm right under here. So that'll give us these 3, and then I'll come back and show you all where the bolts are on the fender. All right, so I got that done. If you've done that before, you know it's very simple. It took me about 5 minutes to do. I also lowered my bumper. There's a bolt right in here. It should be a 10mm. This actually is covering it. This sits in there like that. I took it off just so I could show you guys. So there is a bolt right up here up front in the fender. There's also these 3 on top. This will come out easy. You just take a screwdriver behind it, pluck it out. Mine light up, so I'm gonna have to cut this wire and splice it back. It's not a big deal, but so there's those. You'll have to undo. There's an 8mm in here, and then these are, I forget what size they are, but they're very small, which if you've dropped a fender liner before, you know it's not very hard. Got my rock lights in here. Shout out Turbo Truck Lighting, it's my brand. But so you'll drop the fender liner, you'll undo all these. Let's see if I can get them, there we go. You'll undo all these. There's the last 2. You can see I've got 38s on here with 2-inch spacers, so they've been getting cut up a little bit, getting into that. But maybe time to take the spacers off. Back to what we were talking about. Then there's 2 down here on the very bottom. There's one about halfway through right here. It'll be behind foam. Like I said, the only reason I know that is because I did the other one yesterday, but there's one it's probably about right here in the door. You get to it when you drop the fender liner, you get through it that way. It's either an 8 or a 10mm. I think it's an 8. And then there will be one right back here as well. So this one goes in this way, and then this one goes in this way. But that's where all the bolts are. If I can think of any other tips or anything while I'm doing it, I will come back to you. But for now, we're gonna get that off. All right, so I've gotten all the bolts off, 3 on top. The one, I actually realized if you open the door, it's easier to get to. I forgot that, but that's what I did yesterday as well. It's just right here behind the door. It's an 8mm. I got all these undone, got that one out, all these undone. I've now dropped the liner, and I just want to show you guys where this bolt is in here, because if you wouldn't know, or if you don't know, you wouldn't know, it's behind this foam right here. So yeah, I figured that out yesterday after fighting with it and fighting with it and fighting with it. But yeah, the bolt's right here behind this foam, so you're gonna have to, you know, rip it away, or maybe you can get the bit straight, or the socket straight to it. I'm not, yesterday I chipped away at it a little bit and found it and then stuck it to it. But just so you know, because like I said, it can be tricky if you're not, you know what you're looking for. But yeah, that's where it is. So once I get that one off, the foam you got to fight with a little bit, because it's, I mean, it holds it on there pretty good, as you can see. It's solid stuff, it's real sticky. But once I get that off, I'll fight with the foam a little bit, and then I will pull my fender and have it laid out. So I'll get back to you guys when that's done. All right, so I've got the fender off. It's laying over here, but this foam stuff, whatever it is, it's a pain. So I used, just, you know, kind of a helpful tip here, I used my flathead, and I came from inside the fender well and was just prying on it and trying to knock it down, because that stuff's actually kind of tough. And like, I mean, you could bend your fender up trying to pull it. So I just used this and went real slow, and worked it through there to try and get all of that kind of stuff separated before I really pulled it off. Because I mean, it takes I'm not saying it's like really hard, but it takes a good deal of force to get, you know, kind of break that foam off and stuff. So don't think you're breaking something as long as you've got all those bolts out. But you know, it's not just a walk in the park, if that makes sense. So I just suggest having this, maybe even like a knife. I didn't try my knife, but you try a knife maybe, and just, you know, cut it off, work it apart. As you can see, I did a pretty good job. I was just putting it in there up against the wall of the truck and kind of pulling off. So I just stick it in right here through the fender well and pull. So that worked for me pretty well. Oh, I thought that was mud dauber or something. But yeah, so that's what I would suggest doing. Obviously you can do it your own way, but that's what worked for me. All right, so now that we do have this fender pulled, sorry, I got off on a little tangent there, but we're gonna have to trim some of this stuff up. So I'm pretty sure I'll have to look back, but you cut this right about here and make it flat. It's so the hinges can fit in here, because the new hinges stick back like into here behind the fender, to where obviously these, your stock hinges, just fit right here behind the door. So I'm pretty sure this one you cut halfway, and then this one you cut all the way off, or maybe it's this one halfway and this one all the way off. But either way, I'm just gonna take a grinder to it. I got my grinder over here, and cut that up. It's just plastic and that foam stuff, so it's not very hard to get through. We're not cutting any metal or anything yet. So that's what I'm gonna do next. And then after that, we're gonna get to the interior, because we've got to take this doorstop off. So let me do that first, and then we'll get into the interior. Okay, so I've got this all cleaned up. It was half on the top, so you cut that one halfway, and then this one smooth all the way down. You probably don't need a grinder. It's just plastic and this foam stuff, but that's just what I had. It was easier to use, so that's how I did it. But next up, we're going to open this door up and take off the door panel and all that kind of stuff. Here, we're gonna take this door panel off. You can see I got plenty of napkins, but take the door panel off, and then there's this right here. It's like your door catch or whatever you want to call it. we have to take this off so that the hinges can mount in here, because they go from top to bottom. The wiring, thankfully, with this we don't have to mess with. I'm going to undo it because on the other side I actually stretched a couple wires and they broke. So when we take the door panel off, we're going to there's like some clips in here, so we'll undo those, pull those through a little bit more. I'll unhook it still anyways, just to be safe, because I don't want to have to patch wires again like I did. And then there's also, well, we'll get to this later, but there's a bolt on the inside here for the door hinges, which I missed on the other side as well, and that was a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna make sure to show you guys where that is. But let me get this door off, and I'll show you how we get that off. Okay, so I've got my door panel off and my speaker pulled. There's two 7mm there, and then two 7mm down here at the bottom. It's very simple. The speaker has 4 7mm all right here around it. Make sure you unplug everything. It's just different. I think this is for all the seats and stuff like that, and this is for your windows and that kind of stuff. So make sure you unplug those. I've got my door panel in my back seat right now. So now that I've got this off, we're taking this hinge off. I think that's looks like an 11 and that looks like a 7. So I'm gonna use my ratchet here, get those off, pull it back through, then we'll go from there. Okay, so next step here, there it is. There's a nut right there. That nut has to come off in order for this lower door hinge to come off. And I didn't realize that or forgot that in the on the other side. And it was a pain because I had to crawl over this to get over there and get it out. And it's behind the fuse box on the other side. So we're gonna remember this time. And you can see it right there. Move these wires over. But that's what we're getting at. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off before we tape the door up and get the hinges off. All right, I apologize, got a little ahead, but I've gone ahead and I've taped up the door now, as you can see. I just use painter's tape so it doesn't leave all the adhesive stickiness on it. As you can see, I've got all the tape on. This is what's holding the front, because obviously the back is still latched. So this is really where your weight's gonna be. I went ahead and took, this one's a stud, and this one's a stud, and then these two are bolts. So I went ahead and took those off. I've got them right here, they're 13mm. And then next I'm gonna take these two off and these two off, and then I'm gonna use a pry bar to pry the door back a little bit. I can pull these. I forgot this one back here too. This one I'm gonna put a wrench on. I can't get to it, but yeah. And then I'm gonna use a pry bar and pry that out so I can pull the door hinges out, and then we'll be good to go. And then from there, we're gonna get the butterfly door hinge on, but I'll come back to you once I get all that off. All right, so I've got everything off. As you can see, no hinges or anything anymore. My tape actually ripped a little bit, so I'm gonna be kind of quick with this part, but that's all off. Now I've just gotta get this up to it. I got my bolts set right there so I can put it on as I'm standing there. And then once I get that on, we'll get the spring on. So let me get this on first, then I'll show you guys. Okay, so I've got it on. I've got it bolted to the door, and then I've got these two in. I'm having troubles getting these bottom ones to line up. That's what sucks about doing everything when it's just you. I can't get this bottom to line up right. So I'm not 100% sure. I guess I gotta just keep pushing on it and seeing if I can get my weight in the right spot and push on it to run those bolts in. But yeah, so it's at least on now. As you can see, a couple of my things of tape ripped. This is more so to see like the lineup. Part that sucks is when you stretch them out whenever you're pulling the door hinges off, but it'll be all right. So it'll still get lined up and everything. These are how you adjust it. You adjust it with this and this. So I mean, I'll get it, but yeah, so it's on there. I'm gonna try and get this line back up, and I'll show you guys how to get the shock and everything on there. All right, so I got the bottom bolts on. I just had to make a little adjustment here. I didn't even think about it. I had this adjusted too far out, which that's where it determines how your door sits level or high, because I'm gonna have to adjust it so that it still latches in the rear. Jeez, zoom in on my mirror. So it still latches in the rear. So I'm still probably gonna have to adjust that a little bit, but yeah, so I got these all in. Now, like I said, we're gonna have to, I took all my tape off as well, as you can see. Yeah, you see how far the door just dropped? Yeah. So if you can see here, it's way off. So what I'm gonna have to do now is this adjustment right here, you have to put in, and as I push it in, it'll raise the door up. So I'm gonna have to adjust this to get the door right, and then once I get the door right, we can put on our shock. All right, so I've got the shock on here now. So what we're gonna do is pull the door out and lift it up. So I've just been putting it under my shoulder and kind of picking it up, and then I'll get that lined up, and it'll shoot right in here into this bushing. So I'll pick the door up, put that in, because you're not compressing these. I don't care how hard you try, but trust me, I tried. But so once I get the door picked up, I'll get it in that bushing, and then we will have a roll pin to shoot through there. So let me get that in, and then I'll show you guys the door lifted up, and then we'll wrap everything back up. Well, there it is. I got the shock on. It actually, I've never had this happen before. My roll pin, well, it's not focusing, but my roll pin wasn't, or it was going in, and then all of a sudden it broke off. So I ended up just backing it out a little bit so that it would stay, so that it would still catch that, so it won't come out. I mean, I doubt it would come out anyways. You'd have to be lifting that door pretty fast for that to pop up out of there. But also make sure, I forgot to mention this, make sure that you cut this. Let me get to the other side here. Make sure that you cut this covering off, loom. I don't know if it's necessarily loom, but make sure you cut that off from the base, because when you lift this door up, the wires are gonna pull through, and it's just easier if you cut it. Like I said, I cut it, and then I also pulled some of these extensions out here in the door. So, or not extensions, but what do you call that? Little plastic connectors that go through like little holes. I don't remember where they were, but there was 2 of them. Yeah, there was one right here. So I pulled it off so that the wire could stretch through, and then there was another one back in here that I reached in there and pulled off so that the wire had more room, because like I said, on the other door, I actually ripped a couple wires apart when I did this because I wasn't paying attention, and the door is actually kind of heavy. Even though it's got everything off of it, it's still decently heavy to pick up and put on your shoulder while you're trying to get all that in. But yeah, so now I've got that. I will pull the door back down. Let me step back here so you can see the whole thing. But I'm gonna pull the door back down, adjust it some more, make sure that you know, it's in the right spot, because you adjust it here. This is how you adjust how far out it swings, because it has to swing past, well, it's behind here right now, but there's a little blocker it's got, so it's got to swing past that blocker, and then this is your adjustment on how the door sits up and down so it still catches in the door jamb. So I'm going to adjust those a little bit more, make sure everything's right now that we've got that on, and then come back to you guys, and we'll start putting the interior of the door back together. And then the fender, we'll get to that, but you've got to cut it out so that this can fit and stuff. So let's just take this one step at a time. All right, so I've got the door back adjusted right so that it opens, and you see, make sure that lines up so it opens and closes good. I went ahead and put this door panel back on. It's simple. Obviously you saw me take it off. It's just the 4 bolts there, or 2 bolts up here, 2 bolts down there, 4 bolts total. It's not very hard, and then plugging everything back in. So now that I've got that all back together, we're gonna come now, and we have to cut the fender so that this can fit behind it. You see I've got my fender laying here. I used my grinder yesterday, but it actually jumped off. You can see here, I laid this on the towel so it wouldn't scratch up, but my grinder got into my towel a little bit and wrapped it all up. And then I used the Sawzall for the second part, so that was actually easier. So I am just gonna use my Sawzall to cut this out. Yesterday, I'll show you guys the other one. It was kind of a pain because you gotta cut this whole inside part out. So getting it lined up, and I actually ended up, you can see right here, I had to cut some even after I put it on because I didn't think about when you lift the door up, it gets up into, oh, well, you can zoom on here. It gets up into here, and I didn't think about that when I was doing it yesterday. So yeah, so I actually ended up having to cut it once I put it back together. So today I'm going to make sure that I cut definitely enough. So as you can see, I just cut out from there, right there, cut all the way down the side, all the way up to the top. So this door, as you can see, got it adjusted right and everything too. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to do the same thing. Yesterday I got into it a little bit. That was when my grinder hit the towel and caught under there, so not very happy about that, but can't do anything about it now. So yeah, I've got to measure it out a little bit, you know, just kind of fab it up, get this part cut out, and then, like I said, the extra on top so that it'll go through nice and easy, and then we can put the fender back on. So I'm gonna mark it up, and then I'll show you guys kind of where I marked it to cut, and then we'll cut it from there. I apologize, I totally forgot to show you guys first. I got to thinking, so yesterday I cut this completely off, but then as I was looking at it, I think I can actually leave this middle mount. It's the one that I took off yesterday. As you can see, it's that mount right there. I think I can actually leave that because everything that moves is above that, if that makes sense. So I'm actually gonna try and leave that, and I lost track of what I was doing, and so I just started cutting. But basically I just took my Sharpie here, marked up here and here, cut down, so that way that lower arm can reach through. You can see right there. Oh, focus on my finger. But so that way that lower arm can reach through. Now I'm gonna cut off, go ahead and mark it here. I'm right-handed, so excuse me if this line's ugly. But now I'm gonna cut from right here down up to, see, this is where I cut to yesterday, was right here. But I'm actually gonna go ahead and cut up to like up here, because like I said before, it needs that extra room when you actually pick the door up. So I'm gonna set my phone down real fast and mark that and then show you guys. All right, so you guys saw me just make that line, but here's the other line. I'm gonna kind of go diagonal with it. Let's see, yeah, there it is. So I'm just gonna cut down that, and then just go even right there with the fender. So I'm gonna cut that and then show you guys, and then we can attempt to put the fender back on. All right, so I got it cut out. I didn't take my own advice. I ended up using my grinder again, and of course, if you can see here, I got into my fender. So I should have taken my own advice and just used my Sawzall. I used it on some parts, but then when I got to that, I was like, well, I'll just use my grinder and make it easy. Well, I'm an idiot. Don't do what I do, or just be more careful. Yeah. So now that I've got this cut out, as you can see, I took a pretty good chunk out of right here, from right there, and then that I showed you in the last one. But yeah, so I've got that cut down now. So now it's time to go put the fender back on, or at least attempt to put the fender back on. We'll see if that can stay or not. I think it will. I wish I would have done that on the passenger side, but I didn't. So this part's new for me too, but hopefully that works. So yeah, I'm gonna get this fender mounted back up, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so the fender fits pretty well, or I say pretty well, it fits well. The gap here is a little funny, but you have to do that because this door doesn't fold in, it like pulls it out, if that makes sense. So you have to make the gap a little bit bigger so that it doesn't catch, but it works. I got the door opens and everything just fine. I put the bolts back in. There was the one in the middle which ended up working, so I wish I would have left that on the passenger side, but I didn't. You live and you learn. There's the one right here behind the door. I actually had to open the door to get to that one. That's an 8mm, 3 10s across the top, and then the 10 down here below. I'm about to put this plastic piece back over that one, and then I'll put the fender liner back in, which all my bolts are over here for the fender liner, and then put my headlight, my grill back on, and we'll be good to go. But I'm gonna go ahead, put this plastic piece back on, get that back on, put my headlight and my grill. So I'll basically just wrap it all up and then show you guys the final product. All right, so I actually lied. There was one last thing I wanted to do, I forgot about. I wanna put some electrical tape around this. I actually bought loom, but I think I'm gonna decide against the loom because I don't want it to get caught right here or it have issues sliding in and out. Because when I put the door down, the wire slides in, and when I pull it up, it slides out. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap the whole thing in electrical tape, starting, right here, just continue it from there. So that is the last thing I'm gonna do. I haven't done that on the passenger side yet either, so I'm gonna do both of those. Yeah, and then I'm done. So I just wanted to throw that in there, just so you guys knew, I just don't want this wire to get cut up or anything sliding in and out. So I think some tape will help cover that up. So I'm gonna do that, and then we can show you the final product. Perfect. So I got these wrapped up. That's what it looks like. Just makes it look a little cleaner. And that way, as it's sliding in and out, when you pick the door up, you can't see all the wires just dangling and stuff like that. So yeah, it just looks a little better. So now to the final product. All right, so I hope this comes up right in the video, but I just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you get the chance, check out my website here. We sell all kinds of lighting products, rock lights, wheel lights, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully this video helped you guys, or helped you decide if you ever want to do butterfly doors or Lambo doors. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process, and it's pretty fun. I like it. A lot of people hate on it, but I really like it. But yeah, if you guys get the chance, check out my website here. We do some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.